Hello everybody. I don't know how well this is going to go over, but I got a little secret to tell you. We've been scammed. We hear all about this climate change this and climate change that. And I just did a very long search for something that's been just purged from the internet. And I found several articles that tell you how this is a urban legend or that it's not true, but I'm going to tell you right now it is true. In the 70s I was a little kid and we had a thing called the Weekly Reader, and it was like a little science magazine that we got a new one every week, and in it they were telling us all about how we were going to have global cooling. And there was a man by the name of Maurice Strong that was, a big wig with the UN, and he was telling us all about it in there. Now, I wanted to get that out on the front side. Now I want you to hear this right here. This was one of his running partners that they're fixing to talk about here.
Have you heard? The world's about to end.
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
Throughout history, people predicted the end of humanity. This month, 60 Minutes was on the case.
You seem to be saying that humanity is not sustainable.
No, humanity is not sustainable.
Bizarrely, they featured this man, who has always predicted doom.
We are very close to a famine disaster in the United States.
Why would they treat him like an expert?
Paul Ehrlich may have lived long enough to see some of his dire prophecies come true.
But his dire prophecies, again and again, turn out to be wrong.
In the next 15 years, the end will come. And by the end, I mean an utter breakdown of the capacity of the planet to support humanity.
His bestseller, which sold an amazing 3 million copies, said nothing can prevent a substantial increase in the world death rate. That was comically wrong. Today, there are 4 billion more people. The death rate fell dramatically.
Too many people, too much consumption.
60 Minutes did mention that Ehrlich was wrong about widespread starvation, but they take him seriously, never mentioning his other ridiculous predictions, like his claim that by the year 2000, England will not exist because of climate change. But England's still here. Instead of interviewing doomsayers like Ehrlich, 60 Minutes should talk to Marian Tupy, the creator of humanprogress.org.
I'm sure this guy's, somebody that's really good to talk to about this when it comes to showing you how that things, can be good with humans. We live on this planet. We're not destroying the planet. There's plenty of resources. I'm going to tell you a little story here where I live. They've basically done completely away with commercial fishing. When I was a kid, there was lots of men that made a living, fed their family out of commercial fishing. And the local fishermen here, they were, by the late 80s, they were having a hard time of it. They started making them put these what they call turtle excluder devices in their nets, which made them lose like probably 70% of their catch. They're fishing for shrimp. There's plenty of shrimp. There's plenty of sea turtles too. And I don't care what anybody tells you, they don't know how many sea turtles are in the ocean. But to put it simply, this is how much they were worried about the sea turtles. They had imported a bunch of fishermen from Vietnam. At the end of the Vietnam War, they brought a bunch of people in, and they could buy a shrimp boat, and the Coast Guard couldn't even board their vessels. They weren't required to have those turtle excluder devices, because in their culture they were allowed to fish and keep whatever they wanted to, so we had to let them do that here too, see. But the people that lived here couldn't do that. They'd give you up to a $10,000 fine and 10 years in prison if they caught you with an illegal fish. The snapper limit was basically unlimited back then, as long as they were above a certain size, and the same with flounder. Now there's a limit of one red snapper per person per day. And I think it's one flounder per day, and they got to be over like 16 inches, which I got no problem with them being, the right size. But I know people that dive the reefs here, and I know commercial fishermen as well. There's no shortage of red snapper. Matter of fact, they're all over the place. What they want to do is totally stop humanity from any growth. And furthermore, these people write love letters to each other all the time. These white papers talking about how they're going to kill us. This very man that he's talking about wrote a book with a man called Eric Holdren, I think his name was. No, John P. Holdren. He's Ehrlich. And that's John P. Holdren. He was Obama's White House science czar. And they wrote a book called Eco-Science. Let me show you. Eco-Science. It's Paul Ehrlich, Ann Ehrlich, and John P. Holdren. And in this book, they like to brag about how they're going to poison the water with fluoride and drop our ability to procreate with that, because it drops men's sperm levels. They talk all about it in the book, and how they will use vaccines and other chemical agents to sterilize people and to drop the reproduction rates. They brag about it in this book. This is a book for PhD level people studying in college to learn how to hate humanity. And that was our White House science advisor. They have went out of their way to limit every type of resource that we can come up with. When they take and make it to where it's not legal for farmers to buy fertilizer, that's an act of war. We're under siege. They're cutting off our food. When they won't let us drill for oil and natural gas, they're cutting off our power. They are purposefully doing this. And my boy Dark Waters is talking about these lizard people in his videos, and I don't know what else you could call them but lizard people, because they have a very anti-human agenda. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you dice it, no matter how you look at it, these people hate us and they want us dead. And what was his name? George Carlin said, "It's a big club, buddy, and you ain't in it." I caught myself back in the mid-90s, I guess, talking about how they can't release all these technologies that's going to lengthen lifespans because we're overpopulated. Did I think that they was going to give it to me if we got rid of some of the people? No, I knew they wasn't ever going to give it to me. They're not going to give it to you. They think that they're going to be one of the 10% of people that are left over, and that they'll have a few human slaves that they can do whatever they want to with. When in reality, this is an anti-human agenda all the way around. They're trying to destroy God's creation. And they listen to these lizard people. They've got a good bit of these human helpers, these lizard people do. And they've got them convinced that they're going to be part of the select that gets to be with them and live in this utopian paradise. I got some sad news for you. It's a big club, buddy. You ain't in it. All right, now I'm going to go back and let my boy here finish telling you all about it.
Have you heard? The world's about to end.
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
Throughout history, people predicted the end of humanity. This month, 60 Minutes was on the case.
You seem to be saying that humanity is not sustainable.
No, humanity is not sustainable.
Bizarrely, they featured this man, who has always predicted doom.
We are very close to a famine disaster in the United States.
Why would they treat him like an expert?
Paul Ehrlich may have lived long enough to see some of his dire prophecies come true.
But his dire prophecies, again and again, turn out to be wrong.
In the next
About every 10 years, this cat comes back out and tells us how in 10 years the whole world's going to collapse. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Y'all need to look at the young people. They've got these young people convinced of this mess. These kids are scared. And they're running around throwing paint and tomato sauce on, paintings in these art galleries and spraying orange paint on Stonehenge and, blocking traffic. I got a question for you. What do you think would happen to you and me if we went out and decided to block the interstate? Because let's just say we wanted everybody to vote for Trump and we was holding up signs, go register to vote for Trump. Then people would run us over and nothing would be done about it. Or the cops would come and arrest us for blocking a road. It's against the law to block a road or block traffic or to block a sidewalk. You're allowed to protest if you don't like something on public property, but you're not allowed to block a highway, an interstate, or a sidewalk during your protest. Yet they're allowing these people to block the interstate. They even go out on the interstate in the dark a couple years ago wearing black and got run over and killed some of them. And then they wanted to try to put that man in jail because they walked out in the middle of an interstate in the dark wearing black. That's crazy. That's just crazy. No matter how you look at it, that's crazy. And when they go in these art galleries and spray paint everything or slosh paint on it or tomato sauce or whatever they decide to slosh on these works of art, let me ask you, if me or you was to walk up to the local art gallery wearing a backpack and a mask on our face and a t-shirt that said stop the drilling, and me and you tried to walk in there, do you honestly think security would let us walk in that building? Do you? These are staged photo ops, people. They walked up to the Stonehenge and sprayed that orange stuff on there, and you could see the security people off camera waiting and just to run up and try to wrestle with them after they started filming and spraying. This is a scam, people. They feeding us narratives, and you better wake up and smell what's cooking, because it's us. It's us that's cooking. Alex Jones did a video not too long ago, well, about 3 or 4 years ago, talking about Soylent Green as people. Well, folks, Soylent Green is made out of people. That was a movie from the 70s. And I don't expect everybody to get it, but I do expect you to get this. Look up the fact that PepsiCo and Campbell's Soup are using human kidney enzymes from aborted fetal cells as a sweetener. They're feeding us people. They were using the babies of aborted fetuses to burn and heat a hospital in England. All this stuff has been coming out for a long time now. These people hate us. They hate us. And they think that they're going to be gods and that they're just going to kill us and everything's going to be hunky-dory for them. And everybody better wake up and smell what the Rock is cooking. Or don't.
15 years, the end will come. And by the end, I mean an utter breakdown of the capacity of the planet to support humanity.
His bestseller, which sold an amazing 3 million copies, said nothing can prevent a substantial increase in the world death rate. That was comically wrong.
No.
Today, there are 4 billion more people. The death rate fell dramatically.
Too many people, too much consumption.
60 Minutes did mention that Ehrlich was wrong about widespread starvation, but they take him seriously, never mentioning his other ridiculous predictions, like his claim that by the year 2000, England will not exist because of climate change. But England's still here. Instead of interviewing doomsayers like Ehrlich, 60 Minutes should talk to Marion Tupy, the creator of humanprogress.org.
Everybody is getting richer and longer living, and life is getting better.
It is. The modern era has brought much longer lives and the greatest decline in poverty ever. Young activists think capitalists are destroying the earth.
Millions of people are dying.
People are throwing paint at works of art or blocking traffic.
They believe it's the moral thing to do because experts like Ehrlich scare them. Paul Ehrlich wouldn't talk to me for this video, but 7 years ago he did talk to us. He said, well, when you predict the future, you get things wrong.
It's very difficult for me to picture things holding together for more than another decade.
He's wrong about
everything. It's always hard for him to picture things lasting more than a decade. And he's been saying that since the 60s, folks. Since the 60s. Did you see them kids wearing them t-shirts? Talking about that they're eco-terrorists, basically? With it on their t-shirts. And they come in there with all these supplies. If we started walking into an art gallery with cans of paint and cans of tomato sauce and whatever else they was using, do you think they'd let you get away with that? This is a publicity stunt. This is a publicity stunt. These people are paid. They're bought and paid for it. You can look at old Georgie boy for a good bit of this, and the rest of it's the WEF. They want you to eat the bugs. They want you to eat bugs, and then they want you to crawl in a ditch and die, so them and their kids can live. They want their boot on your neck, and that's all they're interested in. And everybody better understand that they say the future don't need us, that we're useless people, useless eaters, human weeds. And if people don't start waking up and understand that these people are dead damned serious. Alex Jones had footage a few years ago. I'll see if I can find it, but man, it's getting hard to find this stuff nowadays. Where I think it was, the dude's name was Pianka. He was one of the top biologists, like at UT, and he did a speech, and this dude had tears rolling down out his eyes, talking about how he really hates it for his family and everything, but humans are a virus. They're a cancer on the earth, and it's time for us to release the bioweapons. And all those people stood up and gave that maniac a standing ovation. They were just clapping, they was just, yes sir, let's release the bioweapons and kill them all. The dude said it was going to kill his family, but it's okay because we're a plague upon the earth. It took Alex Jones months of calling the FBI and playing that video for them before they finally sent somebody out there. He said, are y'all going to send somebody out there to at least check into this dude? He's the head of the biology department at UT. And they finally fired the dude. But he went to work as some futurist for some big company that's got plenty of labs. Then you got old Fauci talking about how Donald Trump's going to have a real big surprise in his administration. There's going to be a pandemic. I wonder how he knew that. I wonder how old Bill Gates knew to have that exercise about the pandemic and it being coronavirus and the pandemic exercise before it even happened. There's an awful lot of coincidences going on right here. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. I ain't buying it. I don't believe none of it's a coincidence. This stinks to high heaven. And everybody better wake up. Now, see what else old boy's got to say.
But everything, but they invite him back. They love this stuff.
If you sell the apocalypse, people feel like you are deep and that you care. But if you are selling rational optimism, you sound uncaring.
Uncaring?
Childbearing is herewith forbidden.
It's the doomsayers who are uncaring.
have to get the death rate and birth rate in balance, and there's only two ways to do it. One is to bring the birth rate down, the other is to push the death rate up.
Ehrlich even suggested that government should sterilize people to prevent the population from rising.
Paul always sees human beings as a problem, destroyers, rather than creators. He thinks that
right?
human beings are no different
In
to rats.
China, they
or
made a deal with
rabbits.
them to make sure they could only
When
have
you
one
consume
child.
all the grass
Now they
around
got
us,
nothing but
our
boys.
population
They got to go out
explodes,
in the world and find
and
some
then
women,
it's
don't
going
they?
to collapse. But human beings are fundamentally different. We have the capacity to innovate.
Marian Tupy is the anti-Ehrlich. His new book, Superabundance, shows more people are good for humanity and the environment.
Ain't they?
It's counterintuitive to think that more people can be good for the environment.
Well, not really. Because we're stewards of the land. You know, I know a lot of people try to act like that they believe this and they believe that. I'll tell you something. God signed his creation. He put enough resources here to last us as long as we needed to. There was a study done about 15 years ago, I think now, and they figured out that they could take every man, woman, and child on the face of this earth and put them all in the state of Texas, and they'd have over a square mile apiece per person. And that they could grow enough food just in the country of South Africa, not the continent, just the country of South Africa, to feed them all. This, what we're suffering through, is called artificial scarcity. They don't want to save the planet. They want to control us and kill us. Plain and simple. They want control.
Because the people will buy cars and they need housing. We use stuff.
We use stuff, but we also grow stuff. What matters is new knowledge. Think about something as simple as sand. When we started melting down sand to create glass, we used the first glass for glass beads or jars. But now we are using glass in fiber optic cables and microchips.
Similar innovation in farming, transportation, genetic engineering is why our growing population won't destroy nature. But we're told we're destroying forests.
Looks like a disease across the planet. Boom, there goes the forest.
Nonsense. Forests have grown by 35% in North America and Western Europe in the last 20 years.
Grown because people found ways to
how do you
produce
like
more
that?
food on less land. And prosperous countries can afford to protect
And the
it.
deserts are green.
But the idea that human innovation is helping nature isn't as popular as doomsayers' claims.
This universe is finite, its resources finite. If life is left unchecked, life will cease to exist.
When Ehrlich's
These
book
dudes
became
literally
popular,
think they're Thanos.
a comic book character, was introduced.
By killing 50% of all living things in the universe, he will allow the other half to live on.
In the year 2022,
And who gets to decide
nothing
what
runs
happens?
anymore.
That same year, we also got the movie
they do,
Soylent
don't they?
Green.
The population of the United States has run out of food, and so every time a human being dies, he or she is converted into a biscuit called Soylent Green.
Get right up. Soylent Green. Soylent Green right here.
That's then fed to people.
You gotta tell them Soylent Green is people!
Now we're past 2022, and we're still not eating each other. Nevertheless, ignorant doomsayers still want us to panic.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. John Stossel's wrong there. We are eating each other. Just so you know, PepsiCo was in a lawsuit, I think around 2012, in fact, 2013, somewhere in there, because the board members were suing to try to get the recipe for what they were putting in all their Pepsi products, right? And the court, they was trying to get the court not to let them not give it to the board members, because the board members had heard about the fact that they were using what they call it, HKE 235, and that stands for human kidney enzyme 235. And what it is aborted fetal tissue, the kidney cells of an aborted fetus, and they like to call that a sweetener that they're putting in the Pepsi products and in what was it, the Campbell soup. And there's a bunch more. There's a bunch more companies using it. You might want to do some research into what you're eating, because we are eating people and don't even know it.
Wanted to feel the fear I feel every day.
Many young people have been so misled, they're afraid to have kids. But that would hurt the world.
The biggest problem the world will face in 20 years is population collapse.
That's a bigger problem. Fewer women have babies today. But we need young people to provide the innovation that will solve the Earth's problems. If fewer people have babies, the child who might grow up to cure cancer or develop a miracle battery may never be born. But more people by itself is not enough to get all this innovation.
It is certainly not. If the number of people was all that mattered, China would have been the richest country for centuries. But in fact, what you need is people and freedom. If you let human beings be free, they are going to create more value for everyone.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
It's a non-zero-sum game. God made the world to be inhabited. And that's just the truth of the matter. No matter how much they want to tell us that we're just animals, we're dumb animals, and we're all here by accident, understand that's not true, and they know it's not true. A lot of them claim to be atheists. Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. You scratch an atheist and you're going to find a Satanist. Now, there's some people, low level, that, aren't real smart, that they've convinced that there ain't no God and that they're an animal. And they buy it because they want to do whatever they want to do. If it feels good, do it. Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. Well, that's a satanic outlook. I mean, that came from Aleister Crowley. These people know what they're doing. And you better understand it. You better understand it, because you and your family are on the menu, if you get my meaning. Everybody's got to see this. They've got to see it. We're not made after the likeness of an animal. We're made in the image and the likeness of the living God. And he don't make junk.